It's April 16th, 2013, and good news. It's the first episode of On the Grid, an F1 podcast.
Yay!
I'm Arjuna, this is Julius, and that's Greg. And we're coming to you from the beautiful campus of Bucknell University in the middle of nowhere, Pennsylvania.
Almost.
Yeah.
Sounds about right. Okay, so I guess...
We do have an area code.
We have an area code, yeah.
And a zip code. It's a lot.
So you can send us mail.
Yes.
Yes.
Are we getting ahead of us?
Over the interweb.
Over the interweb sounds good.
Okay.
But where we're going to start with is
Well,
China. Yeah, China. I mean, that's
Well,
the
because
only...
China happened, what was it, yesterday?
Yeah,
No,
2 days ago.
2 days ago. It was Sunday. Races usually happen on Sunday, guys.
Usually.
You know?
They usually do.
Alright, so it was a good race. I mean, we stayed up till 5 to watch it, and it was a lot of fun. We got pizza
And wings.
Some wings.
and
Which we ended up not eating.
And a few of Greg's weird friends. But, we'll get into that later.
Really? You're going to do that to me now?
yes.
She followed me.
Okay, guys, come on.
Okay,
We can't.
okay.
You're gonna have to cut this out.
Continue.
No, we're not.
No, we're not.
We're not going back.
So China, Fernando Alonso came through big time to win on Sunday. Kimi Räikkönen, my man, did great to come in second, and Lewis Hamilton held off
A late charge.
of fighting Sebastian Vettel on those soft tires.
Yeah, that was pretty
If
good.
he hadn't
We'll
made
get to
that mistake,
later.
yes. And at the retirement side of the field, we had Webber, who had a wheel fall off.
Don't get me started.
Let the conspiracy theories begin.
I mean, it would have been great if his tire had hit Sebastian Vettel. That's. I feel
turning
like
tire.
Yeah. That running tire had hit Sebastian Vettel. Then it wouldn't be a conspiracy. But even the
No.
tire missed Vettel.
Yeah.
I don't get
It
it.
was either foreshadowing or just messing with him.
Then we also had Nico Rosberg. Not a great start for him this season. He retired in
What was it,
Australia
like- yeah.
on lap 10.
Yeah.
Then, broken anti-roll bar this time, nothing major.
And hydraulic issue.
And a hydraulic issue in free practice.
He had a chance to be on the podium.
Uh,
as well. No, I'm not talking about this race. I'm talking about the one before that.
Yes.
Yeah, so he had a chance to be on the podium.
It's not been the greatest start.
Yeah, Ross Brawn was like, oh no, whole position. So he's not had the best.
And then
season
Lewis
so
just
far.
flew straight past him.
Esteban Gutierrez with a spectacular crash, completely missing the braking zone and deciding, oh wait, I'm going to use Adrian Sutil as my braking zone.
Yeah, I mean, you do that. You do that if you've gone to Formula One Academy.
Yeah.
You cannot stop. Find the car next to you and stop on that. Yeah, so Esteban, good job. You did
Alright.
exactly what you were
Solid
So-
drive.
The way it's worked out is Sebastian Vettel leads the championship on 52 points. Kimi Räikkönen on 49 points.
9 points.
Yeah.
And I believe it's Lewis Hamilton who's next. Oh no, it's
No, Lewis is
Alonso.
fourth.
No,
It's
no,
Alonso.
it's Alonso.
Get your back straight, moderator.
It's too much for me to remember, but it goes
Yeah.
Alonso then Hamilton.
Right.
And, to start talking about the race, we're going to start talking with, Fernando Alonso.
I suppose it's a good place to start.
Yeah.
Where else can you start? He
The race winner.
starting from third on the position on the grid.
Great qualifying lap, by the way, because he did say earlier in the week, it was either this week or last week, he said that in order to, beat or out-qualify Felipe Massa, who's having
He was having a great
an
comeback,
amazing start
which
to the
I
season.
feel is
Oh yeah, isn't this the first time he's out-qualified him?
in
Yeah.
the
four
yeah.
laps,
This,
four races,
if
rather.
Massa had out-qualified him, he'd be the only teammate of Alonso's to have out-qualified him 5 times in a row.
Okay.
That's
well,
great.
I think that tells you a lot about Fernando Alonso
Fernando
and his
Alonso.
just
How
general
competitive he
attitude.
is,
Yes.
yeah.
Exactly.
So
So he put in, what was it, like a 134.3?
no, he was a
or something?
135.3.
Yeah.
Something.
Hamilton was a 135.3.
Oh, right, yes. Lewis was a 134.4.
So yes, well, I guess let's talk about Hamilton's pole lap. I mean, did anyone really see that coming? He's
Well, I mean, it's Mercedes. It's China.
It's China, yeah.
Maybe you wouldn't expect Hamilton to do this on his third lap at Mercedes, but again,
race.
it's Lewis Hamilton.
It's
You know,
Lewis.
Yeah.
He's
you
a
might
great
have
competitor.
your reservations about him, but he's a great driver. So
Yes, he is.
he managed to put it together, and we have seen him even at McLaren. He has a very good qualifying.
He's got
pace,
he's got one lap pace. Yes.
Yeah, he knows how to put everything together and just have. And he said it, after qualifying. He said, "I looked at my timer and I figured they're gonna have to do a pretty good lap."
Well,
to beat
Kimi
me."
Räikkönen actually put in a fantastic lap that I thought would have captured pole. He was what, a 43.6.
Yeah,
And
I mean
when,
that was the first lap that we saw right
Yeah.
before Hamilton came in. We're like, "Oh wow, that's amazing!" Then Hamilton
it was
comes
a
in.
34.6. Never mind.
Yeah, not 44.
Yeah, so when he put that lap in, I was like, well, no one's going to beat that. No one's gone below in 35.2 the entire weekend yet.
Exactly.
And then Lewis Hamilton comes along and smashes it.
You know what's great about China qualifying, though? And I mean, really, this sort of happens every time. But just seeing it, it was literally everyone was putting in lap times at the same time. Everyone,
But that's
because everyone just
that's
sat
indicative
out the entirety of.
I mean, that's something we have to talk
Q3.
about. You know?
Yes, so-
And that's just down to tire degradation,
That
which we will
we'll
get
get
to in a
to
minute.
later, yes, so-
But everyone was just flying through, and then just sitting there and watching it.
It was just lap
right?
time after lap
It
time, and
was-
everyone is going lower and lower.
Yeah, exactly. And then eventually, by the time Lewis crossed the line, I don't.
wasn't the last
I don't
one.
remember what. Yeah, because I don't
Yeah.
think he was the last one. But when he crossed the line,
It was over.
he was so far ahead of everybody
It was over,
else that
yeah.
you're just
You
like,
knew-
all right,
you knew
that's
who
cool.
was gonna.
We're gonna go on to the race. I mean, the top three definitely took that risk of running in Q3, and it paid off.
It paid off.
big
It
for
paid
them.
off big.
tremendously.
The top three didn't change, right?
No, I mean the order changed.
The order
but
changed, but the top three didn't change. So.
And so let's talk about that first stint. Lewis Hamilton and Fernando Alonso both had very good starts, I think.
yeah.
they did.
yeah.
Whereas Kimi Raikkonen he got wheel spin. He put
had a
11s down.
I mean, he had a Weber-esque start to that race.
Yeah. I mean, usually you'd expect Mark Webber in second place, Mark Webber to finish the first turn in 8th place. So Kimi did.
So Kimi pulled
Yeah,
Weber.
yeah.
But I think
so-
well,
We do apologize, Mark, in advance if you do.
we
see
still
this.
I'm
love
one
you.
of your biggest
okay?
fans.
Exactly. I'm sort of never mind.
No, but okay. Alonso, I think he won the race on that 5th lap when he passed Lewis Hamilton.
Yeah, he did. And I mean, I kind of saw that coming. They have been telling us, oh, you haven't seen the potential of the Ferrari yet. You don't know how good this car is. And everyone's been, Stefano's been coming on, Massa's been coming on and saying, this car is fast. And we just haven't had the chance to prove it yet.
Exactly.
And what better way to prove the car is fast than...
Then on arguably the fastest track
exactly.
So it's
have-
what-
on the calendar.
It's one of the fastest just because of that main long
Massive
straight. And you have to say...
because Kuala Lumpur is also
got a
also
long
pretty
straight as
fast.
well, but
no,
the-
it's not the straight. Just the speed that
the
you go
flow.
through the
But
corners.
I
with.
think
It's a quick track.
the DRS zone has provoked a lot of complaints just because the only place
Well,
where
it's
you
double
ever...
DRS
Yes, firstly it's a double DRS zone, but that one on the main back straight is where you saw all the action pretty much happening.
Basically, yeah.
You would either see a guy pass on the straight or you had a guy get up behind and wait for the second DRS zone.
And Alonso proved that his car is fast, not because
Yeah.
he was out ahead in free air, just doing fastest lap after fastest lap. He did have to race. He did have to compete. He pitted and came out.
And he had to
He had
fly.
to overtake Button a couple of times. He had to overtake everyone a couple of times. So it showed that this Ferrari is good. And I mean, it might be early right now to say this, but I think they're going to challenge for the championship this season. If they did last season with that crappy car,
Exactly.
think about this season.
Because-
think about Fernando Alonso.
Right, because
in a
even
good
last
car.
season with Alonso, everyone was like, "Oh, well, it's just all Alonso," and he grabbed the car by the horns and drove it off. But now Massa comes into the fold. Massa is actually driving as well as he was driving before he got in the face of this. I'm sorry, I'm laughing. It's actually a really
Sad,
horrible
was-
incident.
yeah.
And if that crash helmet had been anything but the new regulation ones,
He would be dead.
probably
Yeah,
would be
probably
dead. But to come back, even though it took him as long as it has, Felipe Massa is actually driving really well
He's
right
driving
now.
faster than I even
He
expected.
is, yeah, exactly. I mean, forget just the qualifying pace, the race pace
I think the problem was
of Felipe Massa. So now you could potentially see both Ferraris
Felipe Massa
challenging
was
not
in-
only for the constructors but for the drivers' championship as well.
the problem was Felipe Massa was in that top 4 yesterday.
He was, yeah.
But on that second stint on those medium tires, he just had too much understeer and he wasted those tires because they were
Wow.
going so fast.
Look, I mean, I think that's down to the driver though. Like there are certain drivers that do certain things better than others.
Yeah.
Felipe Massa is a very good racing driver, but in terms of tire management,
not.
he may not be as good as say Alonso.
Who Alonso
Say who you want to say. Go ahead.
Are you going to make fun of me now because I'm a Jensen Button fan?
Oh,
I'm
okay,
just going
so
to promote
I just
Jensen
wanted
Button.
him to say what
I'm
he
a
wanted to
massive
say for the
Jensen
camera.
Button fan.
There
You
you
should
go.
know that.
Okay, well,
and when he wins a race, this podcast will not be the way it is now. I will just spend the entirety of the time talking about how great Jensen Button.
We're not going to show up to that race.
Yeah,
Because,
it might as well just beat me because they'll just get pissed off.
Okay, so let's go on to Kimi Raikkonen. I think Kimi Raikkonen, he had a fantastic race. If you
He did.
think about what happened,
Yeah, he had an amazing race, and I have advice for Grosjean. You should go and get Kimi Raikkonen's aero team to do something for you, because that hole worked. The hole in the
And
front wing worked.
air
So,
conditioning.
yeah, you need that, Grosjean. It's a conspiracy. This
It
is
is.
why you're not winning or getting on the podium.
people are giving Grosjean a lot of bad
Stick, yeah.
Yeah, but
And
a
I'm
lot of
probably one of
stick
them.
for his crashes, and I feel like yes, he deserves part of the blame. But we have to. He's a young driver. He's not got that spatial awareness yet.
Yeah.
And look, let's go back to Valencia last year. Firstly, he would have won that race after Vettel if his car had not failed as well. But
Oh, he had an alternator problem.
yeah, as well.
Yeah.
But that move that Maldonado messed up big time on Hamilton, he pulled it off to perfection, like literally wheel to wheel. And that's what he's capable of. Kimi Räikkönen, in my opinion, is arguably one of the best drivers out there of any time. But the problem was when he was at McLaren, well, 85% of the times he raced, he didn't finish because that car was so bad. Okay, so let's talk about his race instead of him. As long as we'd love to talk about his press interviews.
That's part
you know, his press interviews.
His press interviews were fantastic. The one with Martin Brundle where he missed the penalty.
Yeah, let's not go there. But he had a terrible start, and he had to make up for it. And I think he knew that, and he was pushing. And, you guys know my opinion on that incident with Perez. I think Perez was in the wrong for pushing Raikkonen off. But, the fact is he had to deal with that front wing.
He did.
And, I think he was losing 0.2 of a second a lap. Something like that.
Which doesn't sound like a lot.
Which is not insignificant. But despite the fact that happened, he pulled off. He was fantastic.
And I think it helped him as well. Because it changed his strategy a little bit. Yeah. He wasn't going to come in on that lap to change tires. But now he had to come in and have his front wing readjusted.
On that one time,
yeah. So I feel like that changed his entire race strategy and gave him enough race left to compete and come back and come out second. So
maybe it helped him. Maybe it was a blessing in disguise.
Maybe, I don't know. But knowing Kimi, he's going to say anything but first is not good enough.
It's what he came out and said. Yeah, that's what he said.
So, he feels like if he didn't get that problem, he would probably have challenged.
Do you think he would have got the win then?
I don't think so. I do not think that
was
Lotus is as fast as the Ferrari.
Oh, you mean, is this specifically in China?
I think in China, that Lotus would not have competed for the
because I think we were all surprised when he got second anyway.
Yeah, that's true. That is
but you also have to take into account how well Fernando Alonso drove.
Yeah.
That drive was, especially as he started pulling away. Right?
Yes, no.
You sat there and you said, or at least I did, I don't know, nobody's going to catch this guy.
Speak English so we can understand you.
The only English, actually, before you continue, the only English that they ever speak, I forgot what race this was.
Push.
It might have been. It might have been Valencia, where they just get push now. And we're all sitting there going, really, this is what you're going to broadcast on the American radio is push now, and just with the passion. You have to think it was doing this when he was saying that. Push with both hands.
Okay. So I think we haven't talked about Lewis Hamilton, but I feel like he had an understated race. He didn't have the best race from his point of view. He lost the lead. He lost the race when he failed to control the race and let Alonso pass him. So, as much as I think we could talk about Lewis Hamilton, I think it's more important to go onto the trio of Vettel, Button, Hülkenberg, and Di Resta, actually.
I think, honestly, we're going to go on to that, but they do not have enough race pace to...
No, they don't.
Challenge.
I think that's
right. Obvious,
Evidently their qualifying pace is very good.
You see, I take that with a pinch of salt. This is China. It's where we know historically that Mercedes have not been bad.
And we know that Lewis Hamilton himself is not bad because this is his kind of track.
I mean, firstly, Mercedes last year won it. Even the year before that and the year before that, they weren't terrible at this track. They still had pretty decent pace.
True.
So I want to reserve judgment on their qualifying place till we go to Bahrain, which is a track that doesn't suit them. And if
more of a Red Bull track, isn't it?
It's Red Bull and Lotus ideally because the conditions are perfect for Lotus. But
exactly.
If we see then that
depends how much sand gets on the track.
But if Mercedes can pull off a decent qualifying, then I think we can honestly say, well, those guys have got qualifying pace. They need to now back that up now with the race pace because they've got the money, they've got Ross Brawn, they've got Toto Wolff, they got the trio together. They're getting very talented people. They should be able to do it.
Guys, look, message to Mercedes. Just tighten the bolts a little tighter. It's not that difficult. You have all this money, just make the car work.
Yeah, I feel...
Because I feel bad, because, look, even... Because you also have to remember the personal relationship that Lewis and Nico
Rosberg
have.
was close, yes.
Right? So, because they were racing with each other when they were younger in karting, right? But they're two very accomplished drivers. Sure, maybe Nico doesn't have all the accolades Lewis does, but he's not exactly a dud either.
No,
right? So, all they're asking when they get into the cockpit is, please get me to the end of the race. Yeah. And if you have a brain... Do the rest, if you have someone in Ross Brawn who's able to build a car in 3 weeks over winter testing for a team that he just bought out to gain 7/10 of a second to get Button the world title.
Surely he can do something.
But surely he can make the car function. So, I think ultimately, you want to be honest with you, I think ultimately it's a matter of time before Mercedes, because Mercedes has always been the dark horse in the sense that they could just jump out at any moment.
Yeah.
Right? You saw it with Nico in China last year. He just won out of nowhere.
Yeah,
right?
And honestly...
So it's just down to reliability, I think.
That was not really out of nowhere. Coming out of winter testing last season...
They weren't terrible.
They were one of the fastest teams.
They were.
And Ross Brawn said this. First 4 races, were amazing.
Yeah.
But then
They couldn't develop the car
Yeah,
as
they
much.
developed in the wrong direction. They went the wrong way, and it didn't pay out.
I think that's
Well,
always.
I know-
I mean,
They
that's
should
always
just
been the
keep
story
on
with
track
Mercedes.
this season. Just keep developing in the right way, and give Lewis Hamilton and Nico Rosberg, as he said, a good car.
Now we talked about the front guys for a bit. Let's start with the guys who started at the end, towards the middle of the pack.
Right.
Vettel, Button, Hulkenberg, and Di Resta. The 4 guys started on the medium tires, and I think all of them made it work to a certain extent. I think
Yeah, they all
we
had
saw
great
Button
races.
Button and Di Resta both did a 2-stop, which I didn't think was possible.
Two drivers were very good at managing their
Yeah,
tires.
you guys really you guys told me that wasn't possible, and
Yeah.
I told you it was, and I was right. But I
I mean-
the point was it didn't work so well for Button.
No, it did not.
It worked well for Di Resta because Di Resta, we don't even know what Di Resta could have done because he had
Because
that.
his car was apart 5 minutes before the race even started. They were building
They
it literally.
manufactured his car.
They
finally.
did.
Also,
So,
he
so,
had-
so good on
Good
you,
job,
Force India.
man.
Good on you.
Good job, Force India. But also, let's be honest, two weeks, not 2 weeks. The first lap was the second lap. Him and Suttel have an off.
Yeah.
He goes onto the grass. What would have happened if he wasn't there? He ended up in like 8th, I want to say.
Yeah.
Imagine what he could. That was 5 seconds he lost, and I think it put him out a little bit on his because that first stint he made the tires work, but I don't think he was the fastest. His second stint was one of the best stints I've seen this season so far.
Buttons.
No,
Oh.
Di Resta.
Di Resta's,
He
okay.
was just so consistent.
Not everything's about Button.
Button, what happened was, I think his second stint he was pushing a little bit more, and the tires weren't lasting
Because
as
he was
long.
forced to catch up, and also it's the makeup of the car.
And so what was it? He spent 9 laps on those softs, and I think by the second lap they were already gone, and he
Right.
was falling back.
Right, because the last stint, which was on the soft
And
tires,
that was always
right?
going to be the most critical for him.
When I was watching that race, I was saying to myself, go on the soft tires on lap 47. I mean, you guys all heard me. Go.
Yeah.
I was yelling at the TV.
I
Go on
told you
47. Go
no.
on 47. And then when he put it on at around lap, what was it, 48, 49
yeah.
or something like that, I was like, all right, whatever. And the race was looking good. But then Vettel pits at 50 or 51.
51, yeah.
And then he just comes out like a bull with its tail on fire.
See, that's
Like it was absolutely, and by the time Button was on lap 53 or 52, his tires were gone, so he
they
couldn't
were
really
gone,
do
yeah.
anything.
So, no, I think-
ultimately, that just showed, and again, this goes to tire degradation. Ultimately, it shows how vulnerable these Pirelli tires are and how important strategy is nowadays.
but-
Because theoretically, Button did the right thing, or at least in my mind, Button did the right thing. He pitted when he should have.
I think he pitted too early, and I think we saw that. The point is,
But I mean,
we saw
too
Vettel
early
do.
relative to Vettel, but with a
No,
man
but-
that's already pitted once already. Vettel's pitted twice. By
Yes,
this
that's
point.
what I
He's
was
just
going
pitted
for.
once, so he pitted too late. According to me, I do not think that China, the speed of China, the temperature of that track,
It was pretty hot.
a 2-stopper is the right. No, it's not. It's the wrong way to go about it, and I think the race between Vettel and Button proved that. Because essentially, how do you pit twice with a guy that's pitted 3 times and you finish 2 places behind him?
Vettel ended up doing a 3-stop. If he had now done a lap in qualifying and not saved those tires, what could it have been like for him? And for Button, what happens if he hadn't gone for a 2-stop? It started, had qualified and done a 3-stop. I mean,
You know, to be honest with you,
you don't think it would have worked?
as is always the case with Formula One, we probably will never know.
Yeah, but here I could afford to speculate.
Of course.
I think Red Bull has 2 strategies going at any given point. They have, are we fast enough for pole?
Right.
That is one. And the second one is, if we're not fast enough for pole, then what happens? Especially with Sebastian Vettel, because with Mark Webber, if he's fast enough for P3, that's good. And like he can start 3rd place, that's all right. Sebastian Vettel, he wants pole.
He wants to be able to control.
Exactly.
Just go.
If
'Cause
Vettel
he's
can't
good at it,
start
too.
on pole, so if they don't think they're fast enough, which, let's be honest, during qualifying, Red Bull was struggling.
Yeah.
Sebastian's Red Bull was struggling this weekend, and so I think that's what leads to that. Then that's what leads to them coming in and saying, you know what, we're not gonna do
A Q3
lap. Let's just save our tires and start at the back of the grid.
Yeah.
So they knew that they were not fast enough. If they'd tried to think about it. We were surprised with Lotus and Mercedes doing below
A 140, a 134.
135, right? They're doing below 135. Everyone was surprised.
Yeah.
Do you think Red Bull could have matched that? I don't think so.
No way.
Probably not.
Okay, not there. So it was a great strategy that they had. If they had gone to do a qualifying lap Q3, they'd probably have ended up around third or fourth,
Yeah.
Vettel would maybe have ended up on the podium, given how amazingly he drove. But then he'd have to start with the
used
soft
safety
tires,
stops,
right? And so that would have changed his entire strategy altogether. I think Red Bull came out with the best result they could in terms of Vettel, obviously not Webber.
Yeah.
But given the strategy they took, that was the best they could get.
We'll get to the Weber situation.
We'll get to the Weber situation, but now I think let's go on to the tires. I mean,
Very.
Pirelli they got a 3-year contract, and their task was make racing exciting with these tires, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And I think it's hard not to argue that they've succeeded.
I think they have. All the teams are hating them right now, but I think they have made me want to watch this sport again.
Yes,
You know,
I mean
last
season was a great season.
They've added an entirely different dimension now
to it.
in terms of strategy.
Yeah.
You know, think about 2011. I want to remind everyone about 2011.
Vettel.
Sebastian Vettel starts 8 laps in. He
20
is
seconds
20
already.
seconds ahead of everybody else. Race is done. Okay, go home, folks.
That
Go do
was
something.
their first season. I think they struggled in their first season to accomplish what they wanted to do, but they still delivered on just making a tire that worked properly. And that was ideally that's what the first goal for any tire supplier is:
so-
make safe tires that never fail.
2012, everyone
2012,
says,
everyone was like, they come out the first race, it's like, well, these tires degrade too much.
Mm-hmm.
But by the time we get to Korea, the guys are still going back to one stops, and that's so they've gotten even softer this time. And you know, again, the teams are complaining. But what's to say
great
that
for racing.
it's
though.
great for
It's
racing,
great
number one.
for
But what's
racing.
not to say we're gonna get to the end of the season and the flyaway races then, and they're going to be doing 1 and 2 stops again because they've got used to the tires again.
Yeah.
Is that not again a real possibility? Because the teams, let's be honest, they're very clever.
Because they've done what they were supposed to do: make tires a part of the strategy.
Yeah.
You know,
And it
which
has
it wasn't
become,
in 2010. It wasn't in 2011. Although they were trying. 2012, they come out and it's amazing. You know, they all the tires have a very small gap between them. You know,
The windows.
yeah, the windows are quite small, but then degradation is too high, and so you have to constantly think about how fast are we going? How is this for the tires? What do we need to do right now? I think it's fantastic.
What do you think?
I mean, look, it's going to take a little getting used to on the part of the racing fan, but in terms of, because look, we even saw it in China, and we mentioned this, and I'm going to go back to Jensen Button, but it's pretty much the it's pretty much the ideal example. I mean, how long do you expect soft tires to last? You go on the softs 7 or 8 laps until the end of the race.
They should last. till
They
the end.
should last.
I come. I
But
get where you're
at the same, but then, so he gets on the tires, right? 4 laps into them, they're not competitive anymore. So look, I mean, there are 2 ways to think about this. Of course, there are going to be critics about the Pirelli tires, and there are,
Yeah.
right? But I think ultimately what Julia said was right. It forces the teams to think more. It makes the sport more exciting. And you just never know, because before, like you said, you know, with Vettel being 20 seconds ahead of everybody else, actually
not
Julia
fun.
said this, just go home.
Yeah.
Right? Whereas let's take that lead and put it into 2013, and it's 20 seconds. Well, how long are his tires going to last? When is he going to pit? Right? Because the average pit lane is what, 22, 23 seconds?
about 20.
Right?
So you come out and you.
So he comes out, and then everyone's right on top of you again. So it's not just, okay, Vettel, you know, starts cruising around in Canada and is watching the monitors because he has a 20-second lead. He might as well just drive backwards.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Right?
last season, 2011, a friend of mine said they should put a TV in his car because he's really bored right
He
now.
should. And actually,
He watches the monitors just
No,
for
I'm
the
sure you
girls.
guys watched this. Right, well, yeah, that too. I mean, come on, he's a racing driver. I'm sure you guys saw this because we all watched Top Gear. But when Seb went on Top Gear, Jeremy said, "Do you find
get
the
bored?"
races boring?"
Eh.
And he said, "No, of course I don't, because you know I'm in the car driving." But you also have to appreciate why Jeremy asked that question.
Yeah.
But yes.
You know, because he has such a big lead, he might as well just stop by the pit lane, get a
smoothie. Get a McDonald's.
get a
you know.
milkshake.
All
Yeah,
the
just go to the
overtaking-
drive-through and get a
All
McDonald's.
the
I mean,
overtaking he had to do was just lapping people, and that's not challenging
Exactly.
at all. So he's just like driving.
And let's be honest.
You should have indicators.
We saw last.
2011, you should have had indicators. Like, I'm going past you now.
We know that he's a very accomplished overtaker. We saw that in Abu Dhabi last year. Fantastic drive. Starting from the pit lane, has to pit twice for a new front wing.
That was
Still the guy comes out
finished in
first.
third, right? Yeah.
It was it's just insane. But I think the question you have to ask about the Pirelli tires is we're probably seeing these guys racing between 60 and 80% of their potential. Let's be honest. These guys could go faster. At some points, you feel like Vettel
Yeah.
at the end of at China there's no way he could have gone faster. The
But no,
guy
but
was.
it's, you just don't want to burn your tires.
Yes, so
That's what
is
it
that something that would you rather see the guys holding back and conserving the tires, or would you rather see less degradable tires but guys pushing 100%?
Look, that's down to strategy, because if you look at what happened with Vettel Raikkonen and Alonso at the front, and then Button and Vettel, where Button was like, should I defend against him? Should I not? You shouldn't have to ask that.
I think it's a very fair question, though, because the point is we got these tires. If you're going to burn a lot of tires trying to keep a guy who's anyway faster than you. We know Alonso is faster than Button anyway, but we know that Button is also a very accomplished defender.
Yeah.
So, I feel it's a valid question because they got to ask, well, is it worth ruining our strategy for?
Look, I think it's ultimately a strategy question, and for the sake of racing, it's the right way to go. Because the whole appeal of Formula One, other than open cockpit wheel-to-wheel racing, is it's not just, and look, I'm not going to try to take a pot shot at NASCAR here, but let's be honest, Formula One in terms of strategy
There's a lot more.
is a lot more complex
That's exactly what I was thinking.
than NASCAR is, because sure, NASCAR has its complexities, and it's not and it's
We're
not
not trying
easy
to put
sport.
we're not trying to put NASCAR down.
No, we're not,
by
but-
any stretch of the imagination.
Right, but
Okay, I'm going to stop you here because I want to know what Julius thinks. He's
Right,
being very
yeah,
quiet.
yeah.
Julius,
Very
if you're
quiet.
racing between 60 and 80%, what do you think?
I think, honestly, Greg stole my thunder there with the whole NASCAR thing. I was going to go totally
See,
different.
he looked very bold, so I was like, wait, I got to stop this guy because he's stealing
I'm
those
playing the
points.
politician.
I was going to go with a totally different tangent on the whole NASCAR gig, but, take that to be our opinion as on the grid F1.
On the grid
whatever
F1,
he
yeah.
said. Anyway, honestly, I think...
I hope this doesn't get broadcast.
This is what I think. I think that Formula One, if we were just about brute raw speed,
Yeah.
right?
Like
then we would have one company make all the cars, put
Yeah.
all the drivers together, and see who's the fastest driver.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Might as well drag them.
Yeah. But see, this is also it's unpredictable. This is also it comes down. I mean, why do we drive on different tracks then? This is all about the strategy. It's all about which strategy enhances which car, which strategy is better for who. We all know that we love Formula One because it's not your average racing sport.
Yeah.
It is a lot more complicated than that. We're here talking about it for hours because we know that it requires a superior mind to understand this.
It's also an appreciation for engineering as well.
There you go.
Because
Exactly.
the stuff that goes into that, look, I'm sorry.
I don't understand it.
I couldn't begin to understand the math behind it. For me, it's just a layman's understanding, but even that
Is mind blowing.
is complex enough for you to just appreciate how gifted
So-
the guys who are doing it are.
So by trying to say that we should take away the tire strategy and just make it about raw speed, then it's NASCAR. I'm sorry.
Okay, let's end before we get attacked by NASCAR fans. Let's end this discussion about Pirelli tires by talking about there's no tire contract in place for next year. Would you guys want to see Pirelli next year?
Look, I think Pirelli, in terms of branding, is a lot better for F1 than Bridgestone is. I think Bridgestone has other things to do than making Formula One tires. Bridgestone, when I think of Bridgestone, I think of road cars. So I think what Pirelli has done very well
Is enlivened races.
Is enlivened races, and we've said this already today. It's now they've made races into 2, 3, and we haven't seen 4 yet. But I mean, God knows
We're
what'll
gonna get
happen
4 at some point, yeah.
right? Pit stop races, and that just makes it really enjoyable because it makes you stay in front of your TV and say, I want to watch this. Don't bother me.
That's what's gonna happen.
What does Julius think?
What Julius thinks is he has the same conclusion that. Why am I speaking about myself in third person? I have the same conclusion that Greg has, maybe for a different reason. I think when you think about how much progress Pirelli has made, in 3 years, and how much research and time they've invested in this sport in the last 3 years, I think they're the only company that bought a Formula One car to test their tires on.
They also built 2 factories so they have a backup. Let's not forget
exactly.
that.
So you think about how much they've invested in it, and one would say they actually deserve it. But then also think about how challenging 2014 is going to be.
2014, yeah.
We're gonna have an episode about that.
I mean,
at some
let me
point.
just conclude now. Is that 2014 is going to be a challenging season because they're going into engines no one knows. They're going into aerodynamics no one knows. No one wants the tires to be what destroys the season.
Exactly.
So they need a team that can noticeably make a difference and make progress and learn, like they did from 2011 to 2012. That was a very big gap to close, you know.
Yeah.
And now they've become a very great company to work with. I think going into 2014, we need Pirelli to be there.
Okay.
I agree. Yeah.
And okay, that's a good way to end that section. And I agree with you for the most part. I think Pirelli has done a very good job with F1, and I feel like I honestly can see them doing a great job in the future as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna wrap up the show with a new segment that we're gonna be calling
Well, everything's new, but
"What the hell happened."
Or crap on, which
Or
they
crap
did
on.
not agree with.
We're trying to be politically correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Okay, but we're just letting you know that whenever we say what the hell happened, it's
just
just crapping on something.
yes, exactly. Someone is going to get completely verbally destroyed.
yeah, and so this week, I think this is if we had done a show last week, it would have been the same people.
Yeah,
Let's be
it would
completely
have been the same people. And
It's-
actually, we might as well talk about that as well.
Okay, let's be honest. It's Christian Horner and Red Bull. What the hell are you guys doing?
Come on.
You know, honestly, this confuses me. You know, they came from. You know, they just got awarded the pit stop award.
2.05.
That's
insane.
That's incredible.
You know, if it was
and it was
ridiculous.
on Webber's car.
Exactly.
And it was
So
on Webber's
Mark Webber comes from having the fastest pit stop.
To having a 12-second stop to change the wing and ending up with a wheel falling off.
You know, what the hell?
It's
What the hell is that? To not having enough fuel in his car during qualifying.
for
What is happening in Red Bull?
Yeah.
You know, fine, we agree. It's not a conspiracy theory because who's dumb enough to sabotage their own car? But is that man getting as much attention
He's
as
not.
Vettel is? Is his car getting as much attention? Red Bull is not the kind of team to let the same mistake happen twice.
Exactly.
That's what we know about them.
And it has.
A lot of us hate that about them, but we know that that's a fact about
Right.
Red Bull. And here it is happening. So you guys need to get your crap together.
yeah, and look,
You
ultimately.
like what I did there?
There you go. Very clever.
So,
No, but look, I think Julius kind of said it all. Because if you look at Red Bull, they're sort of the ideal F1 team, if you think about it. They're
Smart.
organized, they're smart, they've got the best people, arguably.
Use less money
Right, they use
for-
less money, and yet they're still able to turn out cars year after year
Did a
that perform
fantastic
way better
job.
than everybody else.
Yeah.
So when you look at, and teams go around saying
They're a
there's no
very
number.
young team, too.
And they are a very
Gives
young
you
team as well.
An idea.
Yeah.
Right,
Okay.
and I mean, you see teams going around saying there's no number one driver, there's no number one driver. Well, I'm sorry,
There is
a
a
number one driver in Red Bull, and it's a three-time world champion.
And his name is not Mark Webber.
Run the hypothetical situation where Kimi Raikkonen comes in.
And
What are you going to do at that point? Because both are world champions. Webber's not a world champion, right? You have two world champions in the same.
Who, unlike any teammate I feel like Kimi's
Car.
ever had, he has a relationship with Vettel.
Well, no, but look, even
little bit.
even the relationships that are. There's a difference between relationship on track. I mean, you look at arguably the most famous. Well, I mean, there are two famous ones. There's, as far as I'm concerned, there's Senna and Prost,
And
then
Michael
there's Schumacher
Barrichello.
and
his array of
and-
teammates.
and,
No, all of his teammates, not just Barrichello.
Right.
I think you go for
I
that.
mean,
All of his
I was gonna
teammates.
say Hakkinen. They weren't teammates, but it was the same sort of situation where they like hated each other on track, but they were able to go for a beer afterwards.
exactly.
Right. It was the same
Oh, I
sort
thought
of
you were
thing.
going to talk about rivalry.
Right.
Okay.
So now you can't help but think that Webber doesn't trust Vettel.
Oh, no.
So that's a broken dynamic there. And now it's, the big people, Horner and Newey, are faced with a situation. Do we, and Horner's admitted this, there is a lack of trust. He can go in front of the media and say it's been fixed, but
But
I'm
he's
sorry.
lying, yeah.
Exactly, because it's all publicity.
He's
right?
treating us like idiots.
So now they're faced with this situation where they say, okay, they're faced with a choice. Do we try to fix this relationship at the expense of results that we could get if we favor Vettel? Or do we just go out and favor Vettel and,
Forget
say, Mark,
because
you
he's
know
on a
what?
rolling contract.
Exactly.
But I think, okay, if we're talking about Kimi joining, that won't work out because Kimi, even if he's considered the number 2 driver, he doesn't care.
You can't come into Red Bull and think you're going to be a number 1 driver when
While
you have a
Vettel is
3-time
still
world
World
champion,
champion, exactly.
that is 25 years old and is still driving.
He's bound to win more as well.
He's going to be there for a very long time.
Yeah.
So
I
let's
think
not even-
Schumacher better look over
Let's
his
not
back.
even debate that. He'll probably have to drive at Ferrari at some point. I'm just speculating, but right now,
Just for the glamour.
yeah, but right now
Just-
he's gonna stay in Red Bull. But now look at this. Vettel does not listen to instructions anymore. He doesn't listen to orders.
So they have to
It's been-
repeat everything for
It's,
him.
yeah,
The
they
team orders
say
is
everything
also
twice.
another
I don't know if you watched the
If
race.
you watch China, a lot of what they said they repeated twice. I don't know if that's because they're having radio problems, but is
No,
it just
guys, the radio's working.
just to make sure he confirms, like, okay, I've heard that, but I'm going to do this.
I'm gonna do that anyway.
Anyway, so So you have Vettel, who's a hothead, a certified
Hothead. Yeah.
hothead.
Oh yeah,
Who
his head
is
burns.
now, 3-time world champion, and so he does have a right to be a hothead.
He's also a 3-time consecutive world champion.
There
It's
you go.
different from winning one.
25 years old. You know,
Exactly.
there's a lot of things working for him.
Exactly.
And then you have Kimi Räikkönen, who's also
It's
He's
the
a
same
hot-
thing.
he's the epitome,
Epitome.
whatever, of
He's from a different part of the world.
hot-headedness, I guess.
Well, you see,
Um,
I think the thing about Kimi Räikkönen is he gets a lot of stick for being who he is. But the point is, the guy can go in, week out, and drive
and just produce results.
that car as he needs to.
You cannot have both Kimi Räikkönen and Sebastian Vettel
Yeah.
But can you?
in this. You need someone that's gonna listen. You need someone that you're gonna tell, back off,
Yeah.
slow down. You're gonna cause an accident,
So, yeah,
and they will listen.
if we
you
go
need
back-
a Mark Webber, essentially.
No, but the point is, okay, if we're going back to Malaysia, team orders, I can understand why Vettel feels wronged by Webber, that Webber has not assisted him completely when he's been asked to assist him.
Exactly.
Do you feel he's not right?
Okay,
They're not
honestly,
going to reciprocate.
maybe that's not happened as much as it should have. But I think in terms of assistance, Webber has assisted Vettel way more than Vettel's assisted.
Oh, yeah,
Vettel.
there's no quid pro quo there.
Yeah,
but,
yeah. So I think back to Monaco last year. Nobody thinks that this was assistance, but I think it was. The way Webber controlled the front of that race, like he controlled the front pack.
Yeah.
Not letting them overtake him, so not sacrificing his race position, but also not letting them get away from Seb, who was coming from way back.
Yeah.
Seb pits and Webber still got them, and I think Sebastian pitted and came out somewhere in third or something,
Yeah.
or able to compete for third because of Mark Webber controlling.
Is that not-
that is the kind of assistance
Is
that
that
you
maybe
expect.
not
I mean, it's also at Monaco, so it's hard to overtake.
Is that not just the
but,
Webber
yeah, it's
trying
the right
to,
idea.
win the race while being conservative with his? Because let's be honest, you got to watch your.
But this
engine
was
and stuff.
part of the strategy, though. This was part of the strategy.
was.
Control
And Webber
them.
was willing to follow.
Yeah, and Webber was willing to follow the
No, but-
strategy. Has Vettel been willing to say,
Never.
I'm not gonna go 20 seconds ahead just so Mark Webber can catch up?
No.
Okay, and I go back to Istanbul 2010 when no team orders were issued, and what do you see? Boom, the Red Bulls colliding, and I can understand why they tried to do
And it
that.
almost
and
happened in Malaysia as well.
It almost happened because Webber gave him no room, and I feel like Webber's right. I don't like team orders. I'll be honest. I
Yeah,
like
me
seeing
neither.
racing.
I'm against
But
it.
if we're gonna make them legal in the sport, the drivers have got to follow them.
Think about how the media perceives Christian Horner now because of what Sebastian Vettel did.
He's weak.
So it's like who controls who?
Who runs the team?
Who runs the team? Is it Vettel?
Because Horner is
or-
team principal.
Exactly. So
Okay.
making him look like an idiot. in
It's
fact.
almost an empty title now. That
Exactly.
Vettel
So-
just
so-
does what he wants.
So, in terms of keeping the order of the team, keeping the administration, keeping the
Team working properly.
team working properly, it doesn't matter how big you are a driver. It doesn't matter if you've won 3 world champions before you're 25. You have to listen to the rules.
Yeah.
That's just that.
That's just how it is. Yeah.
So whether or not we like team orders, that's a totally different thing from whether or not you should follow them.
Yeah.
So.
I think that's all we have time for today.
Yeah.
I hope you enjoyed this. It's our first episode, and
Hopefully of many to come.
Absolutely.
yeah,
You tell us.
if you like us, subscribe to us on YouTube. We're gonna try and get this on iTunes as well.
Yeah. Definitely go to our website.
Go to our website onthegridf1.wordpress.com.
And we
We're
have
gonna
a
get it.
Facebook page as well.
We have
Yes,
a
we
Facebook
do.
page. Like us
So
with
just like us.
Facebook/onthegridf1.
And we do have a Twitter account at OnTheGridF1.
So
Be sure to check us out there.
we got many forms of social media, and enjoy. I hope you enjoyed it. Liked us. Thought we were correct. If you didn't,
Relatively
comment.
funny as well.
If you want to join the conversation, just pop a comment
Down below.
down below in the comment section.
And if you also think there's ways we could improve this, because it's the first one,
Yeah, please let us know.
let us know, and we're not above changing it. We're
Exactly.
not-
So, yeah.
Cheers, everyone.
Cheers.
That's it. Thanks, guys.